then again, I can't say anything. I haven't been to the dentist in like 6 years. Yeah, literally since like I think you know when it expires when you turn like 25 or 26.
20.
Is it 23?
I can't remember.
Whenever it expired, like 23. Whenever I was taking off my parents' tuition, not tuition,
insurance.
Yeah. That was the last day I went. And
damn.
Yeah, I know. I'm legit. Like at this point, I'm like, I got to get my life back together.
Yeah.
And start like actually doing adult things now.
Going to the doctor.
I haven't got the last. I guess we should just start this podcast. Okay, I'm gonna just start it like
that. We're gonna start like that.
Welcome back, guys, to the 25th episode of the Cousin
Connection podcast.
I'm probably gonna start this like a little bit earlier because we started a conversation before this. But what was I getting at?
How you don't go to the dentist?
Oh yeah, I haven't been to the dentist in like 5-6 years, and I haven't gone to the doctor since my crash, which happened in the winter. It was a crash, honestly. But like in the middle of the winter storm, it was the same day that I made the news for, I think I mentioned it in like a previous podcast where I made the news for getting into a crash, and they found me at the collision center. Yeah, like I was walking outside checking the damages, and they're like, "Hey, would you like to answer the questions?" Like, I've been here for 6 hours. I might as well, because there's so many crashes that you have to wait there for like 6 hours.
Can I search this?
Oh, I have a screenshot somewhere. I don't know where it is.
This. Why have I never heard of this? Also,
really?
I'm like legit sweating now.
Oh, my bad. By the way, this was Sada's idea for both of us wearing the same sweater today.
Yeah,
so
I deeply regret it.
Yeah, so if you're sweating, I'm good. So I'm dealing with it fine. Shout out to Extrovert, working their head hoodies today. Got to support our Huttery brands out there. Well, brands made by Hutteries out there. What? Is he? I think so. No?
I don't know.
Are you?
Let us know.
Oh my God. But what was I getting at? Yeah, so I got into that crash. And I was on I don't know, maybe I took it as like a bad omen, but like I was on my way to the doctor. Are you not okay? Do you want us to stop?
I'm listening. I'm just like, did I see you like profusely?
Nah, you're fine.
I can feel it.
You probably just feel it. Yeah, but I was literally on my way. I was 2 minutes away from the doctor to get my first checkup in like 5 years.
Oh, and that's when you got into the crash?
And that's when I got into the crash. Because like I left work early.
Yeah.
I had the company car too while I was driving. And like we never, I guess we didn't do enough maintenance on the tires. So they were kind of balding at that point. And this is in the middle of a snowstorm.
Did you not have winter tires?
No, they use all seasons.
Oh.
Yeah. So as I was driving, like, there's a red light. I press the brakes. I'm like, oh, that's funny. It's not stopping. And I press the brakes again. Still not stopping.
Oh, my God.
And then I like, at that point, I did what you're not supposed to do. I slammed on the brakes.
Shit, you're supposed to like pump it, no?
Yeah. And because I did that, at that point, it just turned to skates. And it just started really, oh, shit. I was like, no, it's all good. And then it started just going off. Someone else get it. Okay. And then it just started sliding for like 30 feet. Because at this point, I was being like really cautious, right?
Weren't you screaming? I would have been screaming the entire time.
No, at that point, I was like holding my breath and just trying to like stop it, right? And my idea was to start turning the wheel to at least go onto the other side of the street so I don't hit the person.
Yeah.
But my car was basically on skates. It just started sliding sideways a little bit.
Shoot.
And I almost made it. Made it because it started like shifting a little bit.
Yeah.
But I hit like the back corner of the lady's mirror on her car. Was
she driving or something too?
No, she was stopped at the light too. I was trying to stop, but it just wouldn't stop. Oh shoot! Because it was black ice under it, right? It was a layer. It was black ice and a layer of snow on top of it, so you couldn't tell. And then I hit her, and I felt so bad. But she immediately, like, she got out of the car. She started screaming at the top of her lungs. She was freaking out. Yeah, because I guess she said she was on her way to like her daughter's like recital or something like that. Okay, so she started freaking out, like just swearing. I'm like, I'm sorry, man. I don't know what to do. And I was super calm. I was like, yeah, it's all me. It's like, what can I do? And then she started freaking out. She calls her husband and we pull off. Like there was a gas station right next to us. We pull off to the gas station. She's like still kind of trying to freak out. She's freaking out, but she's slowly calming down. And her husband got there. He was like totally chill. He's like, oh yeah, I see what happened. Okay. We exchanged like the information or whatever, and like the car was the whole front corner of my car was like destroyed. I don't know.
It
They
was
made
a
this.
van,
They made this
like-
van out of like
How did that
like
happen?
paper mache, because it was completely ripped out the
Did
corner.
you hit her hard, or was it like a little tap?
It was probably harder than I actually thought it. Yeah, it was pretty hard. It wasn't.
Okay.
It was like going at like 20 kilometers per hour,
Okay,
which is and thankfully like their car wasn't crazy damaged. Like literally all it did was pop out the light from their car.
Oh.
And like the actual whole thing came out. I don't know how. It just like cracked a little bit of the actual plastic on there.
Oh.
But my car was completely just crushed in the corner. But it was still able to drive. Like it did. It hit hard enough to where it pushed into my tire on my front, and it was kind of grinding against that. But I was able to kind of like kick it and make it loosen it up so it would not touch the tire anymore.
Yeah.
And then I just drove it to the collision center. I went in there and I knew the moment I stepped in there and I saw the number and I saw my number that I had to get.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm gonna be here a while, but I didn't know how long it was gonna be.
Yeah.
Because I thought, okay, maybe 1, 2 hours, 3 hours, that kind of thing max. I was there for 6 or 7 hours.
That is insane.
Yeah, and
That's actually crazy.
I don't know how I even passed the time. Like I had my phone on me, of course.
Yeah.
I was just using that. I was kind of talking to my work, like telling them exactly what happened. Like, and this was my second crash in a van, the company car. I mean, the first one wasn't my fault. That one, just kind of like divert a little bit. I was driving. The funny thing is, when I got into my first crash, it was literally the day we were leaving to Philadelphia for the DOTA, for the lessons.
Were you like dropping
convention.
the car off or something?
Yeah, so I was driving to, I think like pick up or drop off something, and then I was gonna drive it from there to work and drop it off and then come back.
Right.
But as I was driving, like there was someone coming, or you know how I was driving on the main road and there's like neighborhood roads on the side, right? And there's someone waiting in one of those roads to merge into the main road, and he was only looking one way.
Oh shoot.
And he never looked like
the way that you were coming
the way that I was coming, right? So as I was passing, he started pulling out right away and he hit me from the side, like he T-boned me as I'm driving forward. So of course when he hits me from it was near the back, so he hit me from there. My whole car spun.
Oh my god.
It spun like 2 times. It jumped the curb. It ripped through a fence.
Oh my god.
And
was
I
it
literally
winter also? Oh yeah, it was winter.
It was winter, but there was no snow at this point.
Okay.
It was before the snow started.
Okay.
And my car literally like spun 2 times and sat in like someone's driveway. Like pointing towards the street, and I'm like sitting there, all airbags are off. I'm like, okay. I got out of the car, looked at the damages. I was like, that's definitely a write-off. and then at that point, I was like, okay, I got to go and check on the guy just to see how they are.
What? He hit you?
Yeah, but like I was fine.
You should have been limping out of there.
No, I was fine. I felt bad for them because the girl was being dropped off by her dad to like she was going for an exam. And I felt so bad because, you know, when you're going for an exam, you got to make it on time, right? And they're like, she's not freaking out, but like you could tell they're shaking up.
Yeah.
And I looked at his car and the whole front of his car is like ripped off.
Oh my God.
That's the thing they tell you about crashes, like, or they don't tell you about crashes, like when they happen, it happens so quickly. You don't have like time to react to it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you're still in shock, but at the end, like once I found out I was fine, I was like, okay, I'm good. Where's my phone? And I started like looking for my phone. Like I didn't freak out or anything. Maybe everybody reacts differently, right?
Right.
But maybe it's my life attitude. But generally, I was just like perfectly fine. I was like, okay, this happened.
That's where you and I are different. I absolutely, especially while the car is spinning, I would have been screaming.
But when the thing is that like I was going so fast, and the crash happened so fast. I didn't even realize what happened at first until like I saw where I was. Yeah. And then I looked at like my trail that I came. I was like, how did I hit the curb? I hit the fence. I ripped through the fence. And like, I felt bad because the landlord of that area who had the fence, he's like, so who's going to pay for my fence? Right. I felt so bad. And he called me like 2 weeks later being like, hey, so
it's not your
I never
fault,
heard. Yeah, it wasn't my fault. It's like, I'm sorry, man. It was not me. Right.
Yeah.
You got to contact the other guy. He's like, okay. And then like 6 months later, he finally got it repaired. I don't know who paid for it. Maybe the guy paid for it because he's literally from that neighborhood. Yeah. He can't run away, right?
Exactly. That sucks.
Yeah, but what was I getting at?
You were telling me about like, so, like it was your second crash.
Oh yeah, that was my second crash. And I mentioned like how I got in the news because of the second crash, where I was waiting outside. Just like it was snowing, in the middle of a snowstorm. The guy's like, "Hey, would you like me on the news? Or would you like to answer some questions?" Like,
so
sure.
Random.
Made it on there. And I got a few people sending me messages from like Instagram saying,
really?
"Hey, yo, I saw you here," that kind of thing. But it was interesting for sure. And I think, so we should probably start the actual podcast now.
No, I think we should.
Because I kind of jumped in between there. So, yeah. So I know we already said it, but welcome back, guys.
This is episode 25.
Yeah. We're quarter of the way there to 100, which is probably, we're halfway there to 50. I don't know what our goal is, really. I don't think we have like a specific goal. You know, it's just gonna be on.
We're just gonna keep doing it.
Yeah, we're just gonna keep going.
You know? Just
until y'all stop listening, basically.
Yeah. When y'all are like, we're tired of you guys, then we'll stop.
Yeah.
Or we might keep going. Who knows?
Yeah, honestly, we do this for fun. We do this for ourselves.
Exactly.
Honestly. Okay, so you can, you know what? You said you had something. You never told me what it was. So just tell me what you had for today.
You can read it.
Oh, I can read it?
Yeah.
What is that? This is my reading voice, by the way.
I know that's your reading voice.
Does anyone read like that when they read something? They go,
like, I do that.
It's like you're not really saying the word, but you're just kind of like mouthing it. Yeah, mumbling.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Okay, so let the audience know exactly what we're reading here.
Okay. So, one question that I actually get quite a bit from people is like, how do you guys come up with your topics? And so honestly, it's random. Throughout the week, we find inspiration from our day-to-day lives, and Amir will jot things down. I will jot things down. Sometimes we will like pre-plan it where we message each other about it. But most of the time it's kind of like we just surprise each other the day of. Just bring it up.
Basically.
This week, something that I often think about, not often think about, but it's definitely something that I have learned recently. 1 second. I'm gonna call you back. It's a concept called destination happiness. Do you know what that is? Have you heard of that before?
No.
You haven't?
Destination happiness? Nah, it sounds like some hippie stuff.
Not necessarily. So, I looked into it because I'm like, what is that? So it's essentially when you give your happiness a destination. Like, I will be happy when I'm doing this, or when I reach this goal, or when I am with this type of person, or when I make this much money.
Actually, you know what's funny? I'm reading a book. I wish I had it on me because I'm forgetting the name. But it actually had like a very similar chapter where it's like, what is enough for you, basically. And it's more like in relation to money, because people like they're always in drive for money. It's like, what is enough for you? What's your goal, kind of thing. Yeah, but maybe I've heard of like something similar, right?
Yeah. And I don't know about you, but like for me, I know that for a while now, like not now, but for a while, I was like, I don't know, is it called practicing destination happiness? But I did that to myself where if I wasn't content in my current situation, I would tell myself things like, oh, I'll be happy when I achieve this goal or whatever I was working towards. You know what I mean? And then what that made me realize when I was reflecting on that is like, then you're literally not enjoying what you have in the moment, which is so true, because now when I look back at like old photos or whenever I'm reminiscing, I look back now, I'm like, wow, that was such a great time. But I remember my thought process in that moment during that time where I was so unhappy and constantly looking forward to like another.
You weren't living in the moment, essentially.
Exactly. And I wasn't being like grateful or, happy with what I had in the moment, which is so bad. Like you're not living, you're not actually enjoying your life for what it is at that time, because tomorrow is really never guaranteed. You know what I mean? So if you're constantly thinking about your next step and you're not thinking about the present, what's the point,
Yeah, because nothing is tomorrow is not promised. That's for sure.
It's not.
Right?
Yeah.
So you might as well take advantage of the time that you have right now. We live in the moment, right?
Yeah, and then I was kind of like thinking about it even further, and I was, this was the second point that I had here, where you kind of have to have a balance between being happy, content with what you have now, but also being okay with striving for more. Like it's okay to work towards your goals.
Yeah.
But you should never have that mentality of like, well, I'm not happy with what I'm working with right now, but when I get to step 15, I'll be happy.
Yeah.
You know, like you shouldn't do that to yourself. And it's a lot easier said than done, of course. Like sometimes when we're stuck in our ways, like you don't know any better, right? You kind of have to retrain your mind and your like how you pretty much look at your whole life and all of that. So that was like something that I recently kind of
had to implement in your life.
It was like an epiphany. I was like, oh my God, this is what I'm doing. I should stop that.
I had a very similar epiphany. Well, earlier in my, not too long ago. Yeah, a little bit earlier in my life. But like, you know how a lot of your goals are set by other people when you're younger, right? Like your parents. We always talk about that, how our parents are telling stuff. So I had that same idea. It'll be like, if I graduate and get like a diploma or degree, then I'll be happy because they'll be happy and proud of me, that kind of thing.
Right.
And then once I got that, it's like, okay, now they put another goal in front of you. They're like, you'll be happy when you have a nice job. Okay. And then you finally get that job. It's like, you'll be happy when you start making this much money in that job. And then you start, and the goal just keeps moving.
Yep.
So you never really get to that point where you feel content and happy in your life.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And it can be a very vicious cycle, right? Because you never really reach that goal, and it leaves you feeling, empty and depressed because you're like, so when am I ever actually going to reach this goal? When am I going to be happy?
Exactly. And then from the outside looking in, like I might look like, say I'm a stranger and I'm like, wow, Amir has it all. And I'll come to you like, oh my God, like tell me and you're in your mind, like I feel like that's where imposter syndrome may come from too, because other people that are looking into your life from the outside, they don't see what you feel on the inside. Like while you're feeling empty, depressed, unaccomplished, people only see like the highlights, right? So they're like, wow, like you're so amazing, like look at all these things that you've done. So it's so interesting how it all works that way. I've always found that interesting, and I sometimes catch myself like if I don't want to use the word idolizing someone, but if I'm like looking up to someone and I'm like, wow, their life is so amazing, I also have to like stop myself and think, okay, I only see like 5% of what their life actually is. If I look at my own life, sometimes I'm like, based on what I put out online or what I tell people, it might be like, a certain percentage of my entire life, right? So to them, they might be like, wow, Sada's got it all. But really, I don't.
Yeah.
I'm struggling just like everybody else. So.
And that's pretty much like a majority of the situation for a lot of people, right? Even the people who do have a lot of the things that you would want in your life, that you feel are your goals, or you feel like they have nothing to complain about. Yeah. They also are going through certain things. Sorry.
Of course. Yeah. Like there's privilege, where, and I feel like this whole thing of having privilege kind of makes people afraid to speak up about whatever they're going through because they're like, well, if I'm in a privileged position, I can't speak up.
Yeah. It's like that meme from back in the day, first world problems.
Yeah, but like they still are problems. Yeah, I'm not. This isn't like someone acknowledging that they are going through something isn't. It's not taking away from someone else's issues.
Yeah, because it's all relative to your environment. Yeah, right.
Of course.
This is where we live. This is all we know. We've grown up in this, right? And every human feels the same emotions. We feel sad, happiness, and all that. Yeah. And it's all in relation to what we know and what we've grown up with. Right. So just because it doesn't seem as important or even relevant to someone who maybe grew up in a third world country where they're dealing with more, I don't know, life-threatening or third world problems, life or death situations. Yeah. Of course, those in a general scheme may seem a lot more or are a lot more important in a general scheme, but like in your day-to-day, what we're dealing with is just as important because we're all trying to just be happy. That's the goal for all of us, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. I absolutely agree. And I think that, if everyone, like, I'm sure, there have been times growing up when I'm complaining about something and my mom will be like, imagine if you grew up in Ethiopia, for example. And I'm like, okay, well, I can't imagine it because I haven't. I didn't grow up there. So I don't know what it's like, you go on vacation and then your family does their absolute best to accommodate you. And personally speaking, every time I go there, even though the living standards aren't the same, which honestly it is now, I feel like if anything, they probably live better than we do, like our family members anyway. But just throwing that out there. You're gonna get some slack for that? Or you're I know, because I know my mom's going to be like, why are you making this sound like? So I had to throw that disclaimer out there. They do. But I'm just saying from what we are used to here, it's different, but whatever works for you. And I think that because it's different, do you ever have that mentality where you're like, I'm just gonna put up with this now because I know I'm going home in like a few weeks? Oh yeah, I do that.
Actually, because I haven't been to Ethiopia in like 12 years, so I haven't.
No, but like even as a kid, like weren't you ever while you're there, aren't you like I'm just gonna put up with this because I know that in 4 weeks I'm going home?
I think we had different situations or different experiences when we were in Ethiopia.
We probably did, but
yeah, we definitely did. From the stories I've heard from you, that we definitely had different experiences.
I think so, but
I understand what you're trying to say.
You get it, you know what I mean? Like if I knew that I was stuck there indefinitely, I'm pretty sure I would have been a lot more dramatic about it. Like get me out of here.
Yeah. But then, if you did stay there indefinitely for a longer time,
I would have adapted.
Yeah, you would have adapted, and a lot of people adapt. Like that's the thing. Okay, so there are people in a third world country, like they live there. Let's say they live there for a majority of their developing life, like up to maybe 20, 17, something like that, and then they've had all those like very hard experiences back there. But then they move here. But then when they move here, over time, because humans, we're a forgetful creature. We forget a lot of things, right?
Absolutely.
So they will find themselves, and I've seen this, people will find themselves, maybe they start living here for another 10, it might not even take that long, maybe 5 years. They start to feel like we do. They start to complain about the things that we do, even though if you go back to them 10 years earlier and you tell them that they would be complaining about these certain things when they're in their first world country, they'd be like, nah, that would never be me. I would always be grateful for just being there.
Because they don't know what it's like. They're
all relative to your environment. Exactly. We forget about the past sometimes. Like a lot of our parents, they start complaining about same things we do. But
I know sometimes when I've gone with my mom, when I've gone with my dad, like y'all were born here.
Exactly.
Why are you complaining?
Exactly. Because you get used to a certain lifestyle and then you have different problems.
Absolutely. No, I always found that funny. And I've called them out on it too, and they're just like, whatever, like, we've lived longer in Canada than we did in Ethiopia. Yeah, so.
Exactly. But it brings up that you can always bring that back and be like, if you lived in our situation, you would be complaining about the same things that we complain about, right? So,
I mean, I think they know that now.
Yeah.
And they even, like, the way that I see it, when you grow up in a certain environment, you get used to that, right? So you get used to the struggles, the successes, the lifestyle, everything. If you take someone from, it doesn't have to be Ethiopia, from any third world country, oftentimes their way of living is so different than how we are here, for example. Like obviously we only know Canada, Toronto specifically. I feel like your day-to-day life here is so much more fast-paced than it is in like any other part of the world.
Exactly.
So I don't know if they would, unless you're someone who likes the fast-paced lifestyle. If you're used to living somewhere where you're like very laid back and relaxed and kind of just going with the flow, you would absolutely huge culture shock if you come here,
Exactly.
So I mean, I guess it just depends on the situation, but
and it helps to be able for us to go back and for them to also come here, because we both get to experience those different lifestyles, and at least we can maybe have some more sympathy for what each of us are going through in a way, right?
Yeah.
It might be harder to kind of see it when you're coming from a third world country to a first world country.
Yeah.
Because it takes a little bit more time to see those little cracks in the actual social structure. Like,
do you
have
feel
to be here for longer, because like out here, there's less of an emphasis on community and like, not community, but there's less emphasis on like,
we're in a very individualistic society.
Exactly. It's very individualistic out here. Unlike back home where like you might be eating with your family every day.
Yeah.
You're always talking and sitting around. If you're always around your family, your friends, all that kind of thing, because you're usually around in the same area for the most part, right?
Yeah.
So if they can experience that, then maybe it'll make them sympathize a little bit more. But maybe we're getting a little bit off topic here. I'm not sure.
But yeah, no, that's actually a very like good point. Another point that I kind of had relating to this sort of topic of destination happiness is like relating it back to like what we believe in. So, Islam teaches you to be grateful and content with what God has given you. Of course, when we make dua, when we pray for something and we're asking God to bless us with something, that's something good in our religion. Like, we're encouraged to do that.
Yeah.
That being said, if you are like someone who's not happy with your current situation for whatever reason, you can still ask. You can make dua, you know what I mean? Make dua that Allah relieves your situation. But at the same time, you shouldn't dwell in the state of being ungrateful because that'll take away from like the quality of your life. Like you won't be enjoying it.
Yeah.
You know, and I know it's easier said than done. It's not something that you can just like snap out of.
Yeah. And you might not even realize that you're being ungrateful. Like, let's say, for me, example, like let's say I was able to work hard and like get this really nice car that I wanted, and you're saying like I did start posting everything. I did this. I worked hard to do this. No one helped me. I came from the ground up. Started from the bottom. All that kind of stuff. Not also giving thanks to the fact that you were given the ability to even move and wake up and do all these things and by
you're able to work to make that money to buy that car.
Exactly, and you were granted the sustenance to be able to live and do those things and reach those goals, right?
Exactly.
So yeah, it's in small things and also bigger things that we have to remember to be grateful for.
Yeah, and I think it's a really big reminder, and I think that I can't remember if it's a hadith or not a sheikh. Okay, so don't be like. But I know that there's this advice, if you want to call it that, where when it comes to like worldly dunya matters, it's always encouraged to look at someone who is, or compare yourself to someone who has less than you, because then that makes you more grateful for what you have. And you don't like, it reminds you like this is, you're not striving to get more because you know that you like, it humbles you, I guess, if you kind of think about it. But when you're looking at it in a religious standpoint, in terms of your religiosity, how much knowledge you have, always look to those who have more knowledge than you for inspiration. You know what I mean? Like strive to be like them. So I always like, that was something that I learned so long ago, and it always kind of stuck in my head. And so now anytime like I'm comparing myself, I know we always talk about like how we shouldn't compare, and we shouldn't, but in some instances where it's inevitable and it happens, the way that I see it, or the way that I kind of catch myself in those moments, is if I'm being ungrateful, and it's not always easy to catch, right? Like sometimes it's if you're just in your head and you realize like, you know what, I'm complaining a lot for this situation. And then I think about, what about, I know someone who has it like this, or like they're not doing so great. Like I should really be thankful for what I have in the moment. And it kind of makes you, it like grounds you. It almost like brings you back down to earth after your head is like swelled up a little.
Yeah. And there's always going to be someone who's in a lesser situation than you are. And to have that in mind really does help, to be like, okay, it could be worse.
That being said though, one thing I don't like, and I've seen this happen online, is like, if you're, let's say like you're venting to me about something, I don't like when someone goes, oh, there's people dying, Kim. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Sometimes you just need to let people.
Yeah. Like what we were just saying like a couple minutes ago. Yeah. Like your experience is your experience. Like I hear you. I feel for you. Like whatever you feel is valid. It doesn't like, just because there's someone else who is suffering more than you doesn't take away from what you're feeling in this moment.
Exactly. Yeah.
So like, I don't like when people do that.
Yeah, it's best at that point to let that person cool down. And then if you feel like it would be beneficial to them, maybe advise and be like, hey, I know you're going through a lot. There are other people there who, might not even have to say it that way.
You don't have to say it that way.
At least advise them in a way that you can maybe ease their mind and make them realize that, it could be worse.
Yeah, like, or just once they've processed their emotions, like you kind of, because sometimes, a situation might take place, and I know you're really good at doing this, where like I'll be like screaming my head off and like telling you something, and you let me finish, and then once I've like calmed down, you'd be like, like you really bring me back down to earth when you're like, the problem isn't as big as you think it is, like you're in your head, like you need to just, and then when I realize, I'm like, oh yeah, you're right, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, I had a similar situation yesterday, because like should I just say, so we had like a little get together.
Oh yeah.
And I'm a person who really likes to be punctual and on time. And like 30 minutes before, I was like, okay, it seems like, a lot of people might not be here. And I myself started to get a little bit more agitated. I was like, okay, we just got to make sure. And I was like calling out people, like realizing how agitated. And then I had to catch myself at one point. And I was like, you know what? It's not the world's not going to end. It's not as bad as it really is. And like I had to even call back people and be like, I'm sorry, man. I didn't even call. I literally like when the person came, I like hugged them. I was like, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to get agitated towards you, right? Because you have to realize at some points when you're maybe overreacting to the situation or making something bigger than it really is, right?
Yeah.
So it's good to try to catch yourself in those moments. And
I mean, it worked out. Like we literally all got
exactly.
there.
And that's why I was like, you know what? I was overreact for no reason. It worked out.
I mean, we don't have to keep this part in, okay?
No, keep it in this. Okay.
I was gonna say it's probably because of what happened the day before.
What happened? Oh, that
like we were so late. Remember?
Oh, that's fine.
No, but I'm like for me,
yeah.
Like I had PTSD because of that. Because like you and I came home at the same time. We planned to do something at a certain time, and we were like 3 hours behind schedule.
Oh
you know?
yeah.
So I understood why you were saying that, but I also like.
It compounded on itself.
Yeah, I think so. And I also knew that like I was gonna make it there on time.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you like one way to I guess bring yourself back or reel yourself back in after you're kind of having a little bit of a thing.
Yeah.
Is to I lost my train of thought. Damn it.
And we're back, guys.
Oh, I got it. Okay, what I was trying to say was.
Did you forget again?
No, I got it.
Okay, shit.
One way, like, for me to reel myself back in is to remind myself, like, I can't, like, stop reacting to things that I have no control over. You know what I mean? Like, if I physically can't do something to change the situation, stop reacting. Like, don't overreact. I mean, sorry. So, that's just.
Yeah, if you have no control over what's happening, then what's the point in overreacting? Because at that point, it's out of your control, right?
Exactly. So you kind of just have to let things play out, and whatever happens, happens.
Whatever happens. Exactly. It wasn't meant to be. It wasn't meant to be. You know.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. Oh my god! Did you have another point on there?
No, that was my last point.
That was your last point.
Yeah.
Okay, so. I feel like you always bring like the most like heavy topics. Mine are like getting old, cutting up.
Getting old.
Okay, so no, but like I was gonna open with this, but like I recently hit the big 29, after my birthday came, and like I already started feeling this way, and I feel like all the people who are older than us are be like, shut up, Amir.
Yeah, they definitely are.
Yo, but I have been feeling it, man. Like,
do your bones ache when you wake up?
Literally,
what's it like being 29? Because I can't relate.
Oh, calm down, Sada. I'll see you in a month, okay? But no, because I think it's because I started working out at an early age. Like I was already putting my body through it, but like recently.
So are you saying it's not good to work out? Y'all heard it here first.
No. It's because I do powerlifting, which is like generally a super like rigorous. It's really hard on your body, especially if you don't stretch properly, which I don't do enough. Like I need to start getting into yoga for real.
It's really good. I like it.
I actually was gonna do it today too. I got lazy, okay, but so my body is already like my shoulders have been bad, my knees. I'm doing that thing where like when I'm trying to sit down or get up, I'll go. I'll make noises as I'm trying to get up and down.
Can you sit with your legs crossed?
No. Well, like I can sit with my legs crossed, but my hips really give me issues.
Dang.
Like I can't open my legs as much.
Amir's gonna have to get like a hip replacement when he's
for
like
real.
50.
Honestly, no. But it really hit me
Inshallah,
like recently. I was like, damn, am I like really destroying my body? Am I really getting old now? But it just really scared me. That's what I was trying to get at. I was gonna open up with that one. It wasn't really a big thing, but
I feel that way too. Don't worry.
What, you too, right?
There are times where like,
at what point can we like confidently say, we're getting old?
Honestly though, your 30s are your prime.
30s are your prime?
Yeah.
I feel like people say that now, like, because
no, they really
it's kind of shifted.
If you think about it,
used to be the 20s.
No, okay, maybe when our parents' generation, but nowadays the way that this generation is going, like millennials, a lot of us, our lives really start at 30.
Yeah.
The 20s they're the ghetto. Okay, let's just be real.
I feel like because I feel like the age of the internet has kind of like shifted things.
Yeah, and when you're 30, you're more. I think it relates to just that self-identification. Like you're more mature. You most likely have your own thing going for you, whether it's your career, a family, a house, a car, whatever your thing is,
Yeah.
Whereas in your 20s, you're kind of still figuring it out.
Yeah. Well, the thing, okay, so I feel like our generation was like an experiment.
We were an experiment.
We were an experiment in the sense of like the internet, growing up with the internet. Because if you think about it, the internet really became a thing when we were getting to those developmental years. I really need to slow down my talk. I'm going to start slowing down after this. I realize that when I'm listening back to these things, I need to start slowing down, take it easy.
Yeah.
So yeah, we started growing up when the internet was new. It was a baby. And this is such a like revolutionary thing. And we were just given it with no like restrictions. It's only now really that they're starting to add all these restrictions like with YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and all these things. Social media in general. They're really starting to like cramp down it, but we got it like raw.
Yeah.
And because of that, we had to kind of figure it out ourselves on how to like traverse the internet, like how to use social media. Like a lot of the millennials, we developed how to use social media, and now like the Gen Xers and the Gen Zs or whatever the younger ones are. What's the generation after us?
Who's Gen X?
Gen X is I think before us actually.
Yeah, it's just
who's after us?
Gen Z.
Gen Z.
Yeah.
So I feel like Gen Z is now like.
Are we supposed to call them Gen Zers because they're Canadian?
Gen Z, I guess so.
Isn't that ugly?
Gen Z.
Nah, that's just.
I remember I used to have a teacher at school that would always correct me whenever I said Z. She'd be like, "It's Z, actually." Make sure you correct. I know. I would be outside in the park at like playing. I don't know why I would be saying Z. I'd be running around going Z. And she'd
so
come up to me and go, "It's Z, actually."
That's
make sure you correct yourself.
Ew.
I know, but but yeah. So like, if you think about it, like. They got to thank us for this, okay? I'm really like glowing right here, especially after we just talked about gratitude here.
I know, right? By the way, like I'm pretty sure the Gen Zers are like anyone born after 1999, right?
I think so.
Oh, okay.
But because we grew up with the internet, we developed like how to monetize the internet, how to diversify your portfolio on the internet, like making different pages. Like I feel like a lot of that was developed by millennials. And now, like Gen Z is taking that model and just like
they're running
with it.
We walked, so Gen Z
could run exactly. Because if you think about it, like when the YouTubers and Instagrams everything first came out, there was no money there was no money in the internet.
Yeah, they were
doing it for the fun of it. It wasn't even a career. It was only until maybe like 5, 6, maybe even 10 years ago, where it became something that someone could even. Not even 10 years ago. I feel like 5 years ago is when it became a thing where kids could actually be like, I want to be a YouTuber, an actual career.
Yeah.
Because even to this day, a little bit, it gets pushed back from from Hollywood and everything. But generally within young people, like being a YouTuber, it can be an actual job now. Like is an actual full-time thing that you can do. Being an Instagrammer just in general is a full-time thing.
You know,
or just being an influencer in general, because now influencers have to diversify just due to how the internet works and how monetizing works and ads and being able to get the most opportunities. You have to be in the most places, that kind of thing.
I realize that, and this is like so not in your scope, but it's an interesting point.
Yeah,
I realize the importance, or I guess the shift in how the media looks at influencers when I noticed that a lot of like social media influencers were invited to the Met Gala. And I was like, whoa, like that's so, normally it's like, it's a high fashion party type of thing, right?
Yeah.
So they normally just invite like A-list-ish celebrities. So when I see like, I mean, I don't know all them, but like TikTok stars and stuff, I'm like, wow, they got invited to that? Like, interesting.
And I think when TikTok blew up, like that's... Yeah. Because the thing is, at that point, TikTok, you could be no one one day and be like... known around the world the next day. Yeah. And the moment people are so good at it now, or so like
they know how to capitalize.
Yeah, they're so primed to be able to take advantage of social media that once something blows up, they have a manager, they have like a publicist, they have deals already lined up. Yeah. Like look at one example is like
the Gorilla Glue lady. Huh? Remember the Gorilla Glue lady?
Is she making money out here now?
I'm pretty sure she is. I'm pretty sure
I was
she has
gonna say
her own,
like the most famous one, which is I think Addison Rae on TikTok.
Honestly, I feel like Addison Rae is just like her look is just marketable. Like she's just an all
American. She's all American girl. I think I mentioned that in a few podcasts ago where I was like, if you're like white, blonde hair, blue eyes, like just
like our earlier podcast.
Just write the check already for yourself. Literally. In a year from now, you're gonna be a billionaire or not a millionaire.
If you just look like a middle America,
you're
Caucasian.
Yeah, and it makes sense because that's where a lot of the audience is, right?
Or if you are a minority with like Eurocentric features, or you just look unique, you're that token.
Or if you're like super dark black, and you always get those people like, oh my god, like you look like blah blah. Enter like Kufr statement here about how they look like a, you know what I'm trying to say, right?
Like a.
Can I even say that? I don't know.
Well, you can say like they said that.
Oh yeah, the people would say like they say, oh, they look like a goddess or they look like an angel or they look like a thing. I'm like, okay, guys, you guys are kind of. I think there's a word for it. Where
I almost feel like they fetishize like when you.
Yeah, they fetishize it.
Yeah.
The fact that these people are like so dark skinned.
Yeah.
And because a lot of the people dark skinned have like super smooth skin, so. What?
Speaking of,
what?
So you know how we talked about they fetishize black people? I have to show you this. Okay, I have to show you this. Hold on. I saw this article on Instagram. I think it was it from Shade Room maybe? No.
It's Shade Room,
it wasn't Shade Room.
It's gonna be like 30 pages down.
No. It was this guy. Was it this guy? There was this black guy who was missing since August. Then they found his body. It took the cops 3 weeks to even identify him because they literally like disfigured him so bad. They sawed off his jaw, took out his eyeballs. They literally cut his skull open. Oh my god! Can this even
be put on a podcast?
I don't know. Trigger warning. Oops. I guess. Where did I see it? And I was like so horrified because I remember seeing his picture when he was missing back in the summer. But
that also shows you like the discrepancy between like black and white people. Where remember that girl who went missing, the YouTuber? How that was national news.
Yes.
And then
this guy.
People are talking about like there's so many people missing every day. And these are the two people who get the most. I think it's because of like the mystery of it all that really grabbed people's attention because they knew a lot more details about them. But outside of that, it was just crazy how there was so much more emphasis on looking for this one white girl when there's millions of like not millions but thousands of indigenous people and black people and
absolutely
people of other minorities who are missing in the country.
Okay, so do you remember this guy when they posted about him?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, his name is Jaylani Day. But yeah, or Jelani, I don't know how to say his name, but see, it's like I wish he had the same media coverage as Gabby Petito.
Gabby Petito, that was the girl who went missing, yeah.
Yeah, so it's very like, and then I was reading on that, right? Because I was like, how could someone disfigure? Like they took his organs out of his body.
Okay, yeah, they definitely that's.
So then they were talking about like organ harvesting and how that's a thing, and I was like, what? And then it reminded me.
You never watched Squid Game, did you?
No, but then
I watched Squid Game since last week, guys.
I'm gonna get to it, but Get Out, the whole concept of it. Yeah. Like that was that. Like they were. I don't know if I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't already seen it by now, but it kind of relates to that.
Oh no, it's been out, Sada. I think you can spoil it. Come on now.
Fine. I'm
if you were gonna watch it, you've watched it by now.
I'm just doubting my memory of it. That's why I didn't want to say.
Oh come on now.
Do you remember what happened? Or did you watch it?
Yeah.
Where all the white,
scene?
Like in general, how the whole point of the movie
where they take the person's body to use it as like a vessel for their soul or whatever. Yeah,
because look, we're not agreeing with all of these things. We're just summarizing the movie, but it's like, in the movie, the white people believed that black people had superior genes. Do we agree with that? No.
Yeah, all humans are the same ones.
Yeah, but that's what they believed in the movie, and so they would get these black people, do some kind of stuff, and then basically use their body as a vessel. They remember like there was a scene where they're like, "Oh, I could run faster, I could do this, and whatever." So that's what it reminded me of, and it was really creepy because I didn't know it was like real. Because
they don't think of us as human. They kind of think of you as like cattle or some type of product.
Really?
No, they're like the racists who would do these kind of things. They don't think of you as human, right? Just they think just like that's the thing that a lot of people forget. Is like the people from there's no difference between the people that lived 400 years ago than the people that live today. we still all think the same, right? Like we all can think the same. We all still have the same ability to think the same way, and it makes sense because like World War II, the horrific things that are happening there, the horrific things that are still happening in China, the horrific things that are happening all around the world, right? We still all have the ability, no matter who you are, you all have the ability to do these horrific things that we hear about that may seem like ancient history, but are really things that are happening even to this day.
I think people think that they're smarter now because of the technology, but we're not smarter. We just have more resources. Yeah,
they've kind of what do you call it again? They've fooled themselves into thinking that they're more civilized, essentially, right? But it only takes a few negative circumstances or certain things to happen to you for you to reach a state where you never thought you could be and do things that you never thought you could do.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I think Squid Game is a very good example of that.
You know what? I'm going to watch it this week, and then next week's episode, maybe we'll do like a little bit of a
recap on it.
A recap.
I feel like everyone in the world's watched it, so we can spoil it, even if we do recap on it. So get ready to be spoiled next week.
Listen, okay? Everyone who's listening to this now, watch it for the next episode, okay?
Yeah, we'll do a little recap of that. Exactly. We should start doing that every once in a while. Just watch a show and recap it.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah, so... what was it? What were we talking about? I completely forgot.
We were talking about
we were talking about the internet, no?
Yeah, we were.
Okay, so there's another thing I actually want to talk about the internet. So did you hear about the whole whistleblower for Facebook? I think her name was Frances Haugen.
No.
Well, essentially, you remember when Facebook went down for that one day?
Yeah.
So the same day, they say it's not related, but I don't know. The same day, this lady, Frances Haugen, actually came out. I think that's how you say your name. She came out. She basically a whistleblower saying like how Facebook actually had a hand in the Trump's office or Trump's election. They had a hand in like elections that go on around the world, and like basically they're manipulating what people see on the internet so they can get more clicks, whether it's positive or negative. They don't discriminate. If they feel like it's going to get more clicks, then they will do it no matter what the repercussions are.
In terms of like the ads that are getting served?
The ads that are getting served, but also the posts that people are seeing, right? And I honestly, when she came out with this and she's like, they're curating all this stuff towards you, I was like, isn't everyone aware of this already? I feel like everyone jokes about it already and they're kind of aware of it.
Yeah.
But then I forget that like we like I mentioned earlier, we grew up with the internet. We grew up with the internet, so we kind of saw it develop. We saw them changes that were happening, and we were more aware of them.
Right.
But the people who came in later, after it was already developed, like our parents and people in the next generation above us, like they don't know about all these things. They don't realize that like what they're seeing on the internet is catered for them. They don't realize that a lot of the posts that they're seeing are
based on your interactions.
So if you feel a certain way about something and the internet, or not the internet, but the algorithm realizes that, it's just going to keep feeding you those things. And it makes sense now, or like it made sense to me why there are so many like anti-vaxxers and why the Trump movement was so big, why everybody, what do you call it again? There was like so much negative, what do you call it? Press against like Asian people, not press, but like actions or things happening to Asian people around the world when the coronavirus first came out.
And the rise of like conspiracy theories.
Yeah, the rise of conspiracies, all of these things. Like when I'm like, how do these people not see this? How are they not aware that they're just being fed this information and it's being pushed to them because they realize it's going to get more, or Facebook realizes it's going to get more clicks. But it also made me realize that a lot of people are just not self-aware. They're not aware that they're being manipulated.
Yeah, because
did you know about all of this?
I mean, yeah, like how many times have we like joked around about, like we've done it before where like, you know, with our friends and stuff where we're all sitting in a, like we're hanging out, we'll be talking about something, and then later that night we go on Instagram or TikTok and like we get served an ad about exactly like what we were talking about. So we're like, that's a little weird. Our phones are listening to us.
But and the thing is that even though we are aware of this and we know people who are aware of this, there's still people who are aware of it and still being led astray, essentially. So even though they know that the internet or the page on either Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube is going to feed them things that confirms maybe some of their biases, they're still going to believe those things and never really take into account what the other side is saying.
Yeah.
Because they're not seeing the other side.
Exactly.
And it happens to us too. There's times where it's only feeding me like one side of an argument.
Yeah. And imagine like I see the other side and then we talk about it and we're like just
you're like trying to pass these information towards each other. You're like, I never heard that. Yeah. You never heard that. Yeah. It happens a lot more than we realize, even for small things. And our worlds are completely different. And when it comes and I think I keep like adding like subgroup onto subgroup of this because I tend to ramble. She calls like would I say the first name was African Ramblers? But it's also in pop culture, right? Yeah. Like there are artists and TikTokers and stuff that we never heard of. And they have millions, billions of plays or follows. And we've never even heard them in our lives. And then same thing on the other side. We have like artists that we might listen to or watch on like YouTube or watch movies or whatever. And other people have never heard of them in their life.
I was going to tell you something. So this exact case happened to me. I was on TikTok and this guy posts a TikTok video. He drives a Ferrari and he posted that this girl hit him from the back. And then she came,
I saw this.
She was yelling at him like, "Oh my God, you hit my car." And he was like laughing at her, mocking her. And everyone was like, why is she getting mad? Like she hit him from behind. So like, it's a rule, you know? Yeah. And then she got footage somehow from like
the guy did.
Someone else posted that video.
The guy posted the footage. He went to the camera of the gas station.
But that proved him wrong.
No, sorry. You saw this. You're already jumping to the last part. The first part is
I didn't see the first. Like I didn't see the footage from the gas station. I saw the guy's point of view. Okay, yeah. So I was like, oh my God,
it's literally happening right now.
Yeah. So I saw that video where he's like telling her like, why are you getting mad? Like you hit me. So I was like, yeah, why is she getting mad? What the hell? And then all the comments are going in on this girl. And then like maybe a day later, I see the footage from the gas station where they're both like side by side waiting to turn left or something, and the guy came from behind her, hit her from the side, and then went in front of her.
They weren't side by side, but he was trying to pass her to kind of go.
Yeah, like he was like behind her at first, and then he like went to the
around
side,
her,
almost hit someone that was crossing the street, and so really he actually hit her first.
Yeah. So yeah, the full story is they're both waiting at the light to turn left. He was behind her. And maybe she was taking too long, or she was maybe waiting for that person who's crossing the street. Yeah. He tries to go around her. He sideswipes her. And then he turns left and he stops. He brakes. And then she drives up behind him and hits him from behind. Right. And the internet at first, he had the advantage because he posted a video from the gas station camera showing her hitting him from behind. And that's what the internet first saw. So they all hated on the girl. But then after that, she came out with the footage showing that before that video, like 5-6 seconds before that video, he actually sideswiped her. Yeah. So technically, they were both in the wrong because he sideswiped her and she hit him from behind. But he made it look like it was only her. Yeah, and that's where
the comments were like, the internet owes this girl an apology.
Exactly.
And they did.
Yeah, because they were hating on her.
Yeah.
And even though they were both in the wrong in that situation, the fact that he tried to make it look like it was like only
gaslighting her. Yeah.
He was definitely gaslighting her. And that shows you how, like, in the internet, it's all a matter of perspective.
Exactly. Like, we can use the exact same app. We'll scroll through the For You page and we get like we could get the same situation but two different versions of it. And that's the power of social media and the internet now, is everything is so instant. It's literally so instant that like
people react before they know the whole story.
Yeah, it's so
like
scary.
There was also that story of, remember the guy who was being stopped by the cops, and they pulled them out of the car, and they had his friend was actually still in the car, and the driver was pulled out by the cops, and they were like handcuffing him, and they were taking like stuff out of his pockets. And the initial video that everyone saw was a guy in the passenger seat. He was still in the car. He took a video of the cop, and it looked like the cop took a baggie and threw it into the back seat and then picked it up to make it look like the guy was carrying drugs, like he was planting evidence. And he's like, yo, what are you doing? The guy in the car was pointing the camera towards the cop, being like, what are you doing? Why are you trying to plant evidence, blah, 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 that kind of thing. And that's all we saw. Yeah. So at that point, everybody was going off on the cops, being like, yo, these cops are bad. The police. Yeah, defund the police, ACAB. They're planting evidence. And then the police like, okay, bet. So they put out their camera footage from their chest, and it shows that they're taking out the things from the guy's pockets, and it was just an empty baggie. He didn't even have anything inside of it, and he didn't want to hold on to his garbage because he's like, it's just garbage. There's nothing in here.
Right.
So he just threw it into the back seat because it was the guy's, right? It's his car. So he threw it in there, and then at that point you see the interaction from the cop's perspective of what you saw on the camera, and the cop just laughs it off and walks away. But it shows you how there's always two sides of the story, right? And we just got one side of it, and everybody was reacting to that one side. So even nowadays, whenever I see something that looks like it could be like it could be
a cause for a negative reaction.
Yeah, cause for a negative reaction, or it doesn't look like you have the full story. I just wait.
Yeah.
Because when you react the right way, it just makes you look dumb. It makes the internet look dumb, right? And
that's why they say don't assume.
Yeah, everyone's just looking forward to being a mob. Or not looking forward to it, but they're just looking for something to, or it seems like everybody's just looking for something to be angry at.
The internet is a mob. It's a very mob-like.
Mob mentality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, we spoke about this when we spoke about cancel culture. Like, the internet, you kind of go with what majority says. Or like, if you only see one point of view of a situation, you're going to just go based off of that. There are some who are like critical thinkers that are like, let me look at the whole picture.
Yeah.
And power to you if you do that, so.
And actually, sorry, this one also makes me really mad because it deals with someone in the Muslim community. I don't know if you remember the Dimitri story. Where so there was a girl in Dimitri's, or not a girl, there was a family in Dimitri's.
There was a family, yeah.
And the perspective we saw from the initial video was that the girl was like screaming at the waiter or the waitress, and they were saying, oh, she called us like packies. She like made some like derogatory
she said, like, she's not
statements
going to serve us because
because we're Muslim and that kind of thing. And it was just super chaotic, and it seemed like the cops were called on them and that kind of thing. And it was there wasn't a lot of information you could go off, except for the fact that the girl wrote in the comment like, oh, they trying to be racist towards us and they weren't trying to serve us, blah, blah, that kind of thing. And then it came out that the reason that they were being kicked out was not because they were Muslim or anything related to how they looked. It was because I think they didn't make a reservation.
They weren't wearing masks.
It was like 20 of them, and they have a rule. At that point, they had a rule where like you couldn't put tables together. So they started moving tables in the restaurant to get like 20 people all together.
My God, yeah.
And they're breaking all the rules, not being disrespectful at all, and they weren't being courteous towards anyone. And at that point, I think like the waitress like, I'm not going to serve you guys. You're being very disrespectful, that kind of thing. And that they're like, we're kicking you out of the store or the restaurant. And when we didn't have that side of the story, everybody was going off on Dimitri's. They were telling them like, cancel Dimitri's, putting negative reviews on their page.
Yeah.
And then of course, when the real story came out, they're like, okay, now you just look dumb, right?
Yeah.
And some of these things, when people react the right way, it's life destroying for certain people, right? Like you're destroying a business
absolutely
off of when you don't have the full story. And unfortunately, that seems to be like a majority of the case on the internet these days. Like you get one side of the story and people just react right away. And we need to start to take it easy and sit back and get the whole story first before we start reacting.
It's also like, that couple, that family, whoever posted that, played up on the fact that we're in such a, like, our time right now, we're in such a hypersensitive society where like you could literally offend anyone at this point with what you say, right? So and Islamophobia is something that's very, very rampant still. Like people think, oh yeah, like we're accepting of Muslims. In Canada, like we recently, a couple months ago, there was a family that was murdered because this guy literally ran them over. So it's a very sensitive topic here, and I think if you're a Canadian, Muslim or not, that Islamophobia is something that's like a hot topic. And that's
what made me so angry about the fact that they tried to kind of bank off the fact that there was already this anger towards
and apparently
Islamophobia that was going on.
Did you know that the guy, the husband or whatever, is like known to be like some sort of like not prankster, but like those people that do things to get reactions online? He's like that type of person.
Really?
Yeah, apparently. I've never heard of him before, but that's the type of stuff that he does.
Yeah, so whoever is trying to take advantage of a situation like that, where like okay, there's anger or the tension within the country when it comes to Islamophobia is really big. We can take advantage of that. Is like, who are you? Like, it's completely disrespectful to everyone within our community and just the people of Canada in general.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know if I have. Let me see. The other one was I'm cutting off people when driving. Okay. So why I wrote that? Why I wrote that is because so I drive about every few days. I drive to work. Like I go maybe 2-3 days in a week. I drive to work, and it's a long drive. I'm in Scarborough, and my office is in Brampton.
Oh my
which
God.
Is if you don't know the city, that's like literally the other side of the city, like near the airport, further than the airport. It's
not even in Toronto. Okay?
Yeah, it's not even in Toronto.
This channel.
Yeah,
is Brampton slander. Okay. I'm just kidding.
No, I can't, man. I still work there, okay?
I'm kidding.
You're gonna find me. But because of that, I drive a lot. And I realize that I do a lot of like weird things. I feel like everyone does this.
Like
do you
what?
turn into a different person when you're driving?
Absolutely.
Oh, your glasses are falling out, by the way.
I know. I'm like sweating. Like it's so hot.
Yeah, I'm sweating too.
Yeah, I can see the sweaties.
Okay, what were you saying?
Yeah. I'm such a like I'm not really. Oh my God, my glasses are actually fogging up. I have road rage, so.
You have road rage too, right?
Oh my God.
Same. Like, okay, everyone knows I'm not an angry person. I don't get angry very often. Very rarely I get angry. But if you put me in a car in traffic,
Amir drives like a psychopath.
I turn to a different person for real. like if I'm by myself, like I'll say things that I wish I don't think I would ever say. Like I would get canceled for half the things I say while driving. I feel like people always try to act like they're like what's that term, holier than thou? What does that mean? Yeah, but you put them in a car on a day with a lot of traffic. Yeah, with a lot of people not using their signals when driving.
Oh my God!
Then you'll see who the real person is. Nah, but like I do a lot of awkward things because I'm an awkward person too. So I do a lot of awkward things. Like, have you ever done this where I'll be driving and I have to like merge into a lane, and not merge lane. I have to exit.
Yeah.
And you don't have enough time, but you're like, I have to cut this person off. Do you ever like I'll cut them off to get in front of them, and I won't look back
because they're probably like.
I never. Whenever you do something dumb when you're driving, I never look into the rearview mirror. Because I immediately feel like that person is waiting for me to see them so they can start cussing me out from the mirror. I get so awkward. I start sweating when I'm driving. It's the most awkward interaction I can have.
I don't do that.
You don't do that? Because
I am like an anxious driver, I would say. So if I know that my exit is coming up in like 2 exits,
yeah,
I'm going to hold the right lane.
Really? For 2 exits?
You know why? It's only because maybe like 1 exit.
Yeah.
But it's mostly because I know that the right lane people are driving slow, and like when you signal to switch into that lane, they'll just be histy. You know what's the word for histy in English? They'll be
like they won't let you in. They'll be like
like they'll speed up a little. I'm like, what are you doing? Yeah. Like you're already going 80. Slow down. Like.
And do you ever talk to the drivers too when even though they can't hear you?
Like, please let me in. Please let me in.
Yeah, exactly. Be like, please let me in. It's like, yo, bro, I'm about to cut you off. Or like, sometimes I'll be like, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. I had to do it. I'm sorry. Next time, it's just how it is. This is what's happening. Like, I'll have full conversations with drivers, and they won't be able to see me. And by the way, I'm sweating. Like, I'm dripping sweat right now.
How I feel. But there's this thing on the internet now where, people were talking about their experiences with driving, and they're like, when someone was following you, like when someone's driving behind you for an extended period of time, and then they finally switch lanes, you're like, why'd you leave? Was I doing something wrong? Like,
start forming a relationship with a driver behind you.
Or like when you're driving and someone from the other lane drives in, you're like, yeah, because I'm going faster, right? And you feel like happy because you're like the leader. Yeah.
I get awkward when I'm the leader though, because at that point I'm like, so do I go faster? Do I go slower?
You can't slow them down. You gotta listen. Yeah. You set the tone for the rest of the traffic.
Exactly.
Behind you, so.
Exactly. I don't know. Just driving on the highway can be a very frustrating ordeal when I'm driving every day. And like, do you ever start driving and you get to your destination and you can't remember half the drive?
Yeah, sometimes. It's usually when I come to your house.
Usually when you come to my house, right?
I don't need to think.
Exactly.
When I drive here, right?
There are certain times where I'm not thinking about driving. Like, I'll be like, how did I change lanes? How did I turn on my signals? And like, did I pass a light? Did you ever be like, did I run some lights? Because I don't remember checking for the lights or anything like that.
It happens if I'm like really zoned out.
Yeah.
Like if it's either really late at night or if I just like I'm driving to a place where I drive all the time. Like if I'm ever coming here, I'm sure if you're coming to my house, like you don't really have to put much thought. You know exactly where you're going. Like, so you're just.
And do you ever feel
like
dumb?
Zoned out like this?
Where like, you have to make a stop halfway, or no, you have to like make a detour for a small get something, but you're so in the zone and you're so used to going to that destination that you just end up driving straight there without taking that detour to whatever spot you're going to. You know how many times I've driven people?
You took them all the way home?
Yeah, I took them all the way home. I had to drop them off at the station.
Oh my God.
I feel so bad because I'll be driving and I'll be like pulling into the driveway and I look to my left and I'm like, oh shit, you're still here.
You want to come inside or? I've never taken someone like back to my house, but
why? It happened to me twice and I'm like, why didn't she say anything?
Yeah. Why didn't they say anything?
I think they're like, oh, I thought maybe you were going to get something and leave or something.
Oh.
Yeah, but it's happened more than once at least.
Damn, okay, that hasn't happened to me.
Yeah.
But
I wish I had a towel next to me. 1 second.
Use the bottom of the green screen. Oh, what are you doing? Why? First of all, there's legit water droplets on the screen. Damn, you are so wet. Do you want some of my water?
No, let's end the podcast.
Are you okay? You're sweating even more
I'm
than
sweating more now. You know how I say when I profusely sweat? When I start sweat, I'm doing that right now.
I can like legit. Oh my God, Amir! I'm just gonna end the podcast here. Thank you.
Okay.
Are you okay?
No, I'm good.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm good.
You haven't stopped sweating. But like, I'm just gonna end it here for the both of us.
Wearing these sweaters is such a bad idea.
I know. You know what?
But shout out to Extrovert. Okay, the sweaters are good. It's just our dumb ideas of wearing it in a hot
It's like
house.
26 degrees in October. But if you guys could relate to anything that we were talking about, we would love to hear from you. We want to hear your thoughts. We want to continue this conversation, online. I think eventually we want to do like a question and answer type of thing for a future episode. So stay tuned for that as well. But thank you so much for watching, for listening, for all of your support. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can just search up Cousin Connection Podcast. And anywhere where you can listen to podcasts, we are also available on audio, as we have always been. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Cousin Connection Pod. Amir was taken, Alisara with 2 underscores. And we'll see you next week.
Yeah. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Oh, no. 3, 2, 1.
Bye.